What is the difference between being sexual and actually being in the real spiritual sexual energy state? First off, when it comes to intimacy and sex, we all have our own preferences, but in general, our view on the actual act is very much controlled and distorted. For a lot of women, the act of intimacy is one about looking good and smelling good. Whereas for men, it's a lot about performance pressure. Thanks to certain institutions and also a very famous film industry, many of us are subconsciously on a cellular level walking around with a very distorted view on sexuality, because what we are actually doing unknowingly is we are battling a system that was set up to direct the way we feel, see, and express our sexuality. When we experience real tantric sexuality, meaning entering the sphere of a state of spiritual sexual energy, any kind of control mechanisms are going out of the window, and what remains is your primal expressions that do not look anything like it's portrayed in the movies. It's not necessarily hot or sexy, but it's primordial. It is you. Now, how does it sound and look like? Yeah. You.
You want to bamba? You want to G with the big boys?
Let me guess, you either thought I was insane, crazy, or on some kind of substance. But I can assure you that none of it is the case. Maybe the crazy part a little bit. What if I was to tell you that this is actually our natural primordial state when we work with real, raw, spiritual, sexual energy? What happens is that it moves through our body and completely takes over. With that, it drops any kind of control mechanisms, and we reprogram our neurological pathways, our nervous system, to experience pleasure on an entirely different level. The problem is that spiritual sexual energy involves uncontrolled body movements, tongue out, shaking, sound, and noise that we are not used to. That we are not used to it is a very mild conclusion. We are actually deeply judging and condemning it. But why do we do that? These kind of expressions in our society are deemed as demonic or insane, and that again is not by coincidence. It is by design to keep you in a lower state when it comes to sexuality and sexual energy. We have been more or less programmed on how to move our bodies, how to express ourselves in a way that is accepted and also attractive. That's why women very often put on a pornographic show of hotness in order to feel sexy for a man. And men try to remain in a state of performance in order to please the woman. We are actually being ripped off of a natural state of bliss that doesn't require even the intimate act. To make one thing clear, there is nothing wrong with desiring to be hot. I certainly do that. And there is also nothing wrong with wanting to please your woman. But if this remains our focus, then we are so trapped in how things should be in a box of that we perceive sexuality to be, that we can't allow our bodies to do what they need to do in order to reach that state of bliss. Connecting with your spiritual sexual energy and being in that state comes only through experience, and that experience is completely inhibited. It's raw, it's wild, it's beautiful. I'm not telling all of you to pull out your tongue in front of your partner, but what I am telling you is to allow yourself to be free in your sexuality and to experience that state of ecstasy and bliss that is your birthright, and doesn't just come through sexuality, but through a state of being. So the main difference between being sexual and being in a state of spiritual sexual energy is that our sexuality is often controlled. It's either suppressed or it's misused or it's very conditioned depending on what we believe or what our society believes sexuality should be and how ideally it is expressed in the bedroom. Whereas spiritual sexual energy is the one that is in charge and allows you to experience absolute freedom and bliss, which got nothing to do with how you look, but everything with how you feel, what goes on in your body, how you express it, and that you allow yourself to really experience this primordial energy moving through your body, independent of anything that you have ever been taught. And that is real freedom. That is Tantra. That is sexual energy.